Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, today we are bringing some absolutely serious energy because we're looking at a true masterclass in motivation. We are going to unpack the legendary framework of speaker Les Brown. Listen, if you've ever had a massive goal but faced crushing setbacks, defeats, or just major disappointments, or, if you just need a little fire to get back in the game right now, this is exactly where you need to be. We're going to explore a structured psychological toolkit for taking your deepest setbacks and transforming them into your ultimate success.
So, let's dive right into this. Here are the 5 progressive realizations we're going to unpack today. 1. Believe it's possible. 2. Decide it's necessary. 3. Realize that it's you. 4. Accept that it's hard. And 5. Know that it's worth it. And then we'll cap the whole thing off with a really powerful final lesson.
All right, step 1, believe that it's possible. You have to start operating out of your imagination.
Because to really break free from your past, you've got to expand that imagination. Think about the number 20,000 for a second. Before April 1954, it was pretty much universally believed that it was physically impossible to run a 4-minute mile. Like it had literally never been done. But then, Roger Bannister comes along and actually breaks the 4-minute barrier. And here's the wild part. Since that day, over 20,000 people have done it, including high school kids. So what changed? Their belief changed. Once they knew it had actually been done, they got on the track knowing it was possible for them too.
And that brings us to a really critical distinction: eyesight versus mindsight. Les Brown tells this amazing story of 2 educated men in Chicago who were both laid off from their corporate jobs. They both faced weeks and weeks of rejection trying to find work. Now, one man basically surrendered to his eyesight. He looked at the bad economy, looked at all the rejections, decided it was impossible, stayed home, and just became incredibly toxic and discouraged. But the other man, he used his mindsight. Despite the exact same rejections, he interpreted his situation totally differently. He believed a job was still possible. So he went to a company and offered to volunteer his time and his skills for free, just to keep working. He was the first to arrive, the last to leave. 4 weeks later, a top manager quits, and guess who they hired? The guy who volunteered. He didn't judge by appearances. He operated on the firm belief that a breakthrough was possible.
Actually, Les had to apply this exact same mindset to his own life when he was fired from his radio job, and not just once, but twice. With no political experience, no money, and no powerful support, he decided to run for state representative simply because someone told him it was possible. He was up against an incumbent who had over $20,000 and the endorsement of literally every community leader, while Les had less than $800. So what did he do? He got creative. He called his mom, played a gospel record in the background, and recorded an ad where she essentially said, "When my sons got out of hand, I made them go right. Please vote for my son. He's a good boy." In a primary where maybe 4,000 people usually voted, over 27,000 people came out and voted for Les because, well, his mama said he's a good boy. He won purely because he believed it was possible and stayed relentlessly focused on that.
Moving right along to step 2, decide that it's necessary. You must refuse the status quo.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how he redefines necessity, because wanting your dream isn't just some nice-to-have luxury, it is a mandatory responsibility. We usually hear the old saying that necessity is the mother of invention, right? But Les Brown redefines necessity as the absolute refusal to accept things the way they are. It's looking at your life and saying, I am not going to settle for this. He shares a deeply poignant story about a friend of his named Marion. She was a brilliant, prolific writer who absolutely hated her day job. Les was always encouraging her to speak and write full-time, but tragically, Marion passed away unexpectedly. When Les was going through her papers later, he found these profound poems and plays that she had started but just never completed. Those unwritten poems and uncompleted plays died with her. You are the vessel for your dream, and if you don't bring it into the world, no one else ever will.
So you really have to ask yourself some tough questions. A traveler named Warren Grecian was once asked these exact questions by a soldier in Europe, and I want to ask them directly to you, right now. Where have you been up to this point in your life? Are you actually living on purpose, or have you gotten comfortable and maybe started evading your own greatness? Why are you here right now? And most importantly, where you're going? Are you actively experimenting to find your talents, or are you just coasting? Having a true agenda for your life isn't optional, it's necessary.
Okay, step 3. Realize that it's you. It is time to take personal responsibility.
Look, a booming economy is fantastic, right? And supportive friends, they're great. But the absolute major key to making things happen is ultimately you. You have to take full personal responsibility, which means you've got to filter out the noise. When Les wanted to get on public television, people told him to be realistic. They pointed out his lack of college credentials and flat out told him it would never happen. But as Les says, what people think about you and the possibilities for your dream is none of your business. Let them live in the past. History is being read, sure, but it's also being written by people with imagination who take responsibility for their own path.
So the crucial point here is that you have to own your dream relentlessly. You have to resolve right now to never take closed doors or disappointments personally. If a door doesn't open today, you come back tomorrow and you take the hinges off. You have to shout this at your dream every single day. It's not over until I win. Not over until I get through. Not over until I get what I want.
Which leads us to step 4. Accept that it's hard. Easy is just not an option.
We need a firm reality check here. Whether you are 49 years old and bouncing back from losing a 17-year job with just one single week of severance pay, or you're dealing with the sudden, unexpected death of a spouse while raising crawling children, life is fundamentally hard. Building your dream is hard. It can be humiliating. It can be embarrassing. But when you go through these challenges, you eventually look back and realize those exact struggles prepared you for bigger things. So how do you actually get through it? Well, first, you must have unquestionable faith in your abilities and your ideas. Second, that faith has to breed patience, because success won't happen as quickly as you want it to, and things are absolutely going to catch you off guard. And third, that faith and patience must continuously drive you into action. You just have to keep plugging away.
It's kind of like the analogy of the Chinese bamboo tree. You can spend a long time out there watering and fertilizing the ground, and absolutely nothing shows for it. People will literally mock you. They'll ask how long you've been working on this crazy dream with nothing to show for it. And some people quit because they don't see instant results. But you have to keep watering your dream, because it's in that exact struggle, when you're pushing through without any visible evidence, that your character is actually being built. The harder the battle, the sweeter the victory. The person you become in the process is far more important than the dream itself.
And that brings us to step 5. Know that it's worth it. Tapping into the power of passion.
I mean, why on earth do people endure intense pain to climb mountains or swim the Atlantic Channel? Because of passion, because the dream itself is worth it to them. Think of it like running a 26-mile marathon. Ask any runner and they'll tell you that right around the 18th mile, you hit this hypothetical wall. Every single muscle in your body is aching. Everything in you is screaming to stop, telling you that you can't do it. You feel like you're moving in slow motion, but you keep pushing. And once you break through that 18-mile wall, it becomes automatic. You just glide toward the finish line, because you know nothing can stop you now. You did the difficult things, you took the responsibility, and you realized deep in your bones that it was all entirely worth it.
Let's move to our final lesson and see how this all builds together into something incredible. This is about marching forth, and it centers on the legacy of Les's brave friend, Jack Boland. Jack had this beautiful vision for a church that supported people recovering from addictions, and he was really well known for bringing in great speakers. But over a year ago, Jack was diagnosed with cancer. He stayed super optimistic, and amazingly, it went into remission for a year. But then, the cancer returned. Knowing his time was short, Jack bravely decided to host a living funeral for himself. He invited speakers, including Les, to come and say the words they would normally say at a funeral while he was still alive to actually hear them. The doctors predicted Jack would pass away by the end of February, but Jack held on. Even when his vital organs were failing and his family gathered around his hospital bed, he woke up, thanked them, lost consciousness, and then woke up an hour later to joke, "This is embarrassing, I'm not dead yet." Jack defied the doctor's timeline with just incredible humor and courage. He didn't pass away in February. The exact date Jack Boland passed away was March 4th.
March 4th. Literally, March 4th. Les believes that even in his passing, Jack sent a deliberate final message to all of us. You have to march forth. While others are giving up, feeling like victims, or feeling totally powerless, you must renew your mind. Believe it's possible, decide it's necessary, realize it's you, accept that it's hard. Know that it's worth it. So I want to leave you with this final, provocative challenge as we end this explainer. In the face of all your adversity, will you step out of your comfort zone, actively create your brand new future, and relentlessly march forth toward your dreams?